All right. Well, Honda, Cuiraba, Biali, Hola. I'm saying hello to all my students in Apache, Raramuri, Nawa, and Spanish and English. And today we're going to be talking about love across the globe and history. So we'll start with some older images and some classic images and think about the different expressions of love. So I begin with this image of lovebirds because this may be part of our conception of love in contemporary times. Lovebirds are paired for life. They mate, they stay with each other for their lifespan, which can be a decade or so. And this is not what we find in terms of early religion. We don't find the early sense of gods and goddesses to be such that there is a pairing forever, eternal pairing. It's a lot more complicated than that. So let's go on to a human tradition that's a little bit more fallible. So we'll begin with a very ancient figure of Mother Goddess, and I put that in quotes because nobody is sure exactly what these figures mean. We do see carved figure of a woman who appears to be pregnant. She has large breasts as though lactating. She has a large stomach as though, with advanced pregnancy. And so a question, though, is as to this meeting is to what extent do men know they were involved in procreation? So at this point in contemporary U.S. society, we believe that men and women are equally capable of being involved with procreation, of creating the next generation, but this is not the case in ancient cultures necessarily. There are some cultures in which sexuality is not the greatest part of actually conceiving a child. There may be prayers that are necessary, there may be rituals, there may be multiple sex acts. It isn't ingrained in us to know necessarily how children come about. So we know for certain that women are aware that they are birthing children, and perhaps this is why a lot of the early figures of humans are those of women who appear to be pregnant, and this may have to do with the veneration of what some scholars now call the Mother Goddess or the Great Mother, and these are some of our earliest images of people. So it appears that in early religion, women were predominant in terms of worship and had a large role in people's belief system. We can move on to a much later finding in archaeology. This would take us to Turkey, to Göbekli Tepe, about 9,000 before the Common Era. And what is puzzling about this site is that it is so ancient. This appears to have been built before widespread agriculture was available to people. So it may have been a center for people to come together to pray, for hunters and gatherers to come together and to find a common place. So again, because there are no written records at this time, we're not exactly sure what this rather large temple is built for. However, we have to wonder if it's religion that is bringing people together. So with the advent of writing, we have more goddess figures. We have Inanna Ishtar in Mesopotamia, 4,000 years before Common Era, and she is the goddess of love, fertility, and war. So there appears to be a dual nature for Inanna Ishtar, and we have writings from the Epic of Gilgamesh, the first religious writings that we have record of, and again this would be in the Near East. So there is a dual nature, one of sexuality and another of war for Inanna or Ishtar. So the young Inanna of Sumerian poetry, who says, and this is a quote, "Plow my vulva, man of my heart, is no less desirous than the Inanna Ishtar portrayed in Gilgamesh. Let us enjoy your strength, so put your hand and touch our vulva." Accordingly, Inanna Ishtar was the recipient of prayers regarding impotency or unrequited love. Inanna Ishtar was also a patron goddess of prostitutes. So in this figure then, we have multiple interpretations about sexuality, the ability to seduce, the idea of seduction as a power, and a figure to whom people could pray to conceive children and to seduce. Inanna Ishtar is also fond of making war. Quote, battle is a feast to her, unquote. The warlike aspect of the goddess to be expressed in politically charged contexts in which the goddess is praised in connection with royal power and military might. This is also visible in the old Akkadian period when Naram Sin frequently invokes the warlike Ishtar in his inscriptions and becomes more prominent in the Neo-Assyrian veneration of Inanna Ishtar, whose two most important aspects of this period, namely Ishtar of Nineveh and Ishtar of Arbela, were intimately linked to the person of the king. The warrior aspect of Inanna Ishtar, which does appear before the old Akkadian period, emphasizes her masculine characteristics, whereas her sexuality is feminine. As we look at the music, essay number 1 that we'll be writing, we will think more about the influence of African cultures, the Yoruba culture in particular, and also of Santeria, which is the diaspora's practice of the Yoruba religion from West Africa coming to the Caribbean. So we want to note here Oshun, the goddess of love, and a first concept that we can think about is that of Ashe. So Ashe is the primal energy that comprises the power, grace, blood, and life force of all reality. The creator, Olodumare, cedes his Ashe to the Orishas like Oshun, who is a goddess of rivers, and her mate Shango, who is a masculine force of war and lightning. Many Orishas are linked with natural forces like Yemaya, the mother ocean, and Oko, the harvest, and Iku, death, who resides in the cemetery. This is according to Miguel de la Torre in the book Santeria. We also have an image of Oshun offering of honey, and to the left we see Shango with his characteristic axe that is representing lightning and also the ability to go to war. So we note the yellow color that the altar contains and the yellow offerings. So one important offering for Oshun would be honey. And it may be a practice for some to attract a mate, to attract a love, to put a photograph of the one who is desired on a plate of honey and leave that as an offering to Oshun. In this way, Oshun will hear the prayers and will put in that person's heart the desire to reciprocate the love that is being desired by the original person. We move on to Navajo culture, and Navajos are an indigenous nation of the Southwest. Navajo Nation exists within the Four Sacred Mountains, and it is officially in Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado. Here we have an image from a couple of films and a saying, which I'll read, Sa'at Nagai Bik'e Hojo. And that means something like a balance of Nagai, which is strength, and female Hojo, which is beauty. So we have a balance of masculine and feminine qualities. One reading of a landscape, for example, that some Navajo give would be that of peaks and valleys. So we are able to see the mesas and to read the peaks as masculine areas and the valleys as feminine areas. So in this way, we come to understand that all aspects of creation are both masculine and feminine. While some aspects are more masculine and other aspects are more feminine, there's always that mixing of the two. So there may be dominance of feminine for some aspects of the cosmos and a dominance of masculinity for other aspects of the cosmos. But there's always a potential for each aspect of the cosmos to suddenly get more qualities of one or the other. We also want to emphasize the matrilineal nature of the Navajo people, also called Dene. So there's another image of a film called The Sixth World by Nana Becker, a Navajo director here in Los Angeles. And in her hands, she is holding both the white male corn and the yellow female corn. Navajo beliefs are such that there are 4 directions and each direction has a different color. This is seen on the Great Seal of the Navajo Nation, where we have the 4 different directions colored. There's white in the east, where the sun is rising on the Great Seal. The seal to the right is actually blue or turquoise, and it's the south mountain. The western mountain is yellow, the northern mountain is black. So between these 4 mountains reside the Navajo in their nation, and those colors are again used in the ceremony for a creation of people in oral tradition, where the people are created with the help of yellow corn and white corn, representing male and female aspects that go into creation. So the idea here is balance and harmony, that to be extremely one thing or another would be unhealthy. The culture needs both male and female to flourish. And when we have the figure here of White Shawl Woman chanting and helping to create life, she does so again with both male and female aspects of creation, both yellow and white corn.